Chairman, is mic on? Can you hear me? Yeah, it is. Commissioner Bolin.
Present.
Commissioner Metcalf.
Present.
Commissioner Peterson.
Present.
Commissioner Duran.
Present.
Commissioner Bacon.
Present.
And Vice Chair Halby.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right. Well, let's move to approve minutes from October 9th.
I so move that we approve the minutes from October 9th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Old business.
We have none, Chair.
We have
Vice
none.
Chair.
All right. So on to new business. And we said we'd rearrange this a little bit, right?
Vice Chair, if you would like, we can move to item D, conditional
Absolutely.
use permit, followed by the 3 rezoning requests, and then jump back to A and handle the zoning code amendments for the benefit of the applicants in the audience.
Okay. So let's do that.
All right.
So item D. Item D is Cool PZ 19-10-36, a conditional use permit application submitted by Angela Cowden on behalf of Steve and Kendra Carl for a manufactured home in agricultural zoning district located at 1053 North LaRose Drive, Coolidge, Arizona, parcel number 209-19-007Q, resolution 19-07. Mr. Lopez?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, the applicant has stated would like to place a manufactured home on a proposed location as shown on the map. This requires a conditional use. If you recall some time back, we changed the code to allow manufactured homes within agricultural zoning if they had a 1 acre minimum, I believe it was, right, Tim? And so all they're doing is going through that process to place a conditional, or apply for the conditional use out there. Vacayan, it's actually west of Skousen, and if you notice the stars, there's 3 other manufactured homes out in that same area. So it is conducive to the area where there's others there, and so we feel it's an appropriate use at this time. And for the conditional use, it meets all the findings that we have listed. Proposed use is adequate, it relates to streets, adequate width to carry traffic, and all those below. And let's see, conditional
This is
use
that
permits.
5-acre parcel that was over there, right?
That's correct. It's
Right.
about 4.6, roughly 5.
And the special conditions that apply, they're listed here. Just has to be installed in compliance. It has to be at least a double wide. Can't be older than 3 years old. At the time of installation, any manufactured home placed on lot shall be ground set. Must be placed on the property within a year of issuance of the conditional use permit, or it shall expire. Removal of the manufactured home granted on this permit shall require an application for a new conditional use permit. So if this one's removed and they want to put another manufactured home on there, you have to come back and apply for conditional use. And then the applicant agrees to dedicate the city without compensation 55 foot along the north side of the subject property, the south side of Vacayan Road for the rights-of-way purposes. That's pretty standard for any type of conditional use or rezoning. So our recommendation is the Planning and Zoning Commission approve the conditional use permit for the manufactured home is at 1053 North La Rose Drive, parcel number 209-19-007Q. And Ms. Jansen, if you have anything to add to that.
Yes, Vice Chair Halby, Director Lopez, and Commissioners. I'd like to just kind of touch on a couple of these conditions that are on the special conditions. Number 6, removal of the manufactured home granted by this permit will require a new conditional use permit for a manufactured home. We haven't traditionally done this. These permits have generally run in perpetuity, but given the nature of the conditional use permit, when you're deciding whether this manufactured home can go there, it's a matter of whether it's appropriate. So just because it's appropriate now, in 20 years when it comes out, is it still appropriate? So we feel that that should be evaluated, should it be removed and another one go there. And then the 55-foot right-of-way along Vacayan Road, you haven't seen these really with too many conditional use permits for mobile homes because they're in town proper. You see it mostly on, say, the solar plants or the big site plans where we take this right-of-way. This is not a random number. It's driven by our comprehensive transportation plan that identifies levels of roadways. Vacayan is a minor arterial with a total right-of-way width of 110 feet eventually. So that 55 feet is that half width.
And that's from the center of the road.
From the center of the, well, from the section line, which is roughly the center of the road, yeah. There's 33 feet there now.
Right.
In easement form, we will take the 55 fee simple, which means it will actually be a piece of property separate from this, that not theirs, they don't pay taxes on it. The 33-foot easement is part of their land. It's still included in their acreage towards their tax bill. So this is a fairly standard thing. You just don't usually see it on a manufactured home.
And the owners are aware of this?
I don't know.
Well, when they
I haven't
applied
had
for
any
the application,
contact.
they did, right?
Well, these conditions are generated through the review and during the staff report. This came about with Clayton Mobile Homes brought in a permit for a manufactured home to place here. We said, well, hold on. You need a conditional use permit first. So they turned it in, and I had no communication with them since. They were told when the meeting date was. These are the conditions we're recommending. The commission can add or remove some of these things. I don't recommend that. And they agree or they don't, I guess, is what it comes down to.
I know that 55 feet is standard. I know
Yeah.
that we did it on our conditional use permit.
That's correct. And it's all driven, I mean, there's, some of these require 100 feet, depending on what the roadway is designated for in the future. We feel these are not unreasonable conditions.
And time that will be a arterial roadway.
You got it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just also, if they remove the manufactured home in the future, they could apply to build a house there. You know, it's allowed under the AG, so they wouldn't have to get anything except get permits and plans and do all that.
Right.
Is due for a regular house. This is just strictly for the manufactured home, because it's
And
only
usually
allowed
that's
for
the
conditional
normal
use.
course of action, right? You live
Yes,
in
on
a manufactured home and then slowly
the
build
conditional
to
use. Yes.
a stick build.
So what you're saying is, on the conditional use permit, if they were to want to replace the manufactured home, they would have to go get a second conditional use permit. But
Yes.
if they wanted to pull it out and build a site-built house there, they would not have to do anything at all except
Pull
remove
permits.
the old unit and build a house.
Correct.
That's correct, Commissioner Bowen. They could actually, this property being almost 5 acres, could be split and put a stick-built house
Another
on a new parcel, provided they split it meeting setbacks still, and the manufactured home could remain
Okay,
on the other one.
I have no further questions.
Did you guys get something like this in your packets? I don't know if this made it in there.
No.
This is just kind of their general site plan. It's a huge piece of land. Setbacks are easily met. The manufactured home proposes 28 by 70, so that's double wide. And then at permit time, we will make sure they meet the provisions of the code for parking and all that kind of stuff as specified in number 6 of the general conditions. I can pass this around if you guys want to see this.
No.
I'm good.
That's not super interesting.
Nope. It is a big parcel.
If you guys got any more questions, we can answer them. Vice Chair, this is a public hearing.
Yep. We'll open it to the public. Are we done?
I'm done.
Done.
All right. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. If anybody'd like to speak on behalf of this, please step to the podium. No? At this time, we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion.
Vice Chair, I move that we approve Cool PZ 191036 CUP.
second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, item E. Cool PZ 19-10-37, a rezoning request initiated by Tom and Rebecca Thompson for approximately 1.39 acres of land located at 1031 East Lorne Lane in KLC Ranch subdivision, Coolidge, Arizona, changing the zoning from planned area development to agricultural, legally described as follows. Lot 17 of KLC Ranch, lots 9 through 24, as recorded in Cabinet C, Slide 175, in the office of the County Recorder, Pinell County, Arizona. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, as stated, the applicant's requesting a rezoning to agricultural, which we've done one before. I think the last meeting we did another one, and you'll see more coming up. The current zoning, the PAD requires a conditional use permit for accessory structures that are in excess of 800 square feet, and when residences have an acre or more in the agricultural areas, they do not have to have that, which is the case here. You have an acre, a little over an acre, and the proposed rezoning, this is the main reason, will allow for a 10-foot rear building setback for accessory structures versus a 40-foot rear setback that applies to everything under the PAD zoning's setback plan. So we're having all the actual owners, most of them I think will come in and get this done. We talked about doing it all concurrently, but we don't believe we could get all the signatures at one time and everybody to sign a 207 waiver, is what they call it. So we're doing them as they come in. And I mean, eventually we may have everybody hopefully do it, but that's how we're handling it. We're not charging for this to help. And so we have two more after the Thompsons here. I'll answer any questions you may have. I don't know if Tim has any other comments.
Yeah, and I mean, all of this is applicable to the next two cases as well. On this map, we're looking right over here in the corner of Kaylee Court and Lauren Lane at 1031. Yeah, the other end of the block, 1139, you guys heard last month, which subsequently went to council and they passed that. So on this little diagram, this typical lot layout, this is what's on the plat, and this is what everything is held to now. Going to ag, that still holds for houses. Now this is built out, but if something burned down, this would still apply. But if you look in table F below, which is from the agricultural section of the zoning code, it has a line for accessory structures as well, which will reduce that 40-foot rear to 10, as Director Lopez stated, and the interior sides to 10. Now, on this particular property, Kaylee Court, or their western side, still remains 20 feet because it's a corner side, which is the case with the one we heard last time, too. But 103A, number 4, the highlighted portion that Director Lopez mentioned, removing the conditional use permit for those structures. You guys passed that last year in June, and I mean, we were agreed that made sense to everybody to get rid of that. So all this applies to the next two cases. I'm not going to tell you over and over again.
Thank you.
And, these are the three cases. They are in the lower left of the map for this one. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer. Also, public hearing.
Pretty straightforward.
I have nothing.
You guys have any questions?
Looks good to me. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Anybody like to step forward and speak, please do. State your name, your address for the camera.
Rebecca Thompson, 1031 East Lorne Lane. And that all sounds great. I just wanted to point out, which you guys will figure out in a minute, I think. You have, on F, you have Bradley and Carrie Patrick, who are the ones who were here last month that already got approved. And that, I think that's supposed to be Jonathan Thompson, who's 1037.
That is correct. It's
Okay.
a typo on the agenda. All the notifications to property owners and mailings and newspaper publications went out with the correct address and applicant information.
So F has got the wrong person, and that is owned by someone by the name of John Thompson.
Yes.
It's got the wrong name. I don't think we should approve that one tonight. I think we should carry it over.
Commissioner Bolin, we can entertain that on the next item, but right now we are still on E
Okay.
in the public hearing portion part.
All right. So we'll close the public hearing. And we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Cool PZ 191037.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you
We're
for
gonna
the
miss
correction.
You can stay and be the audience for the rest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is letter F. Cool PZ 19-10-38. And do I read it as written, or do I read it?
Read it is written.
Okay.
That's the way the agenda was published.
So a rezoning request initiated by Bradley and Carrie Patrick for approximately 1.3 acres of land located at 1139 East Lauren Lane in KLC Ranch Subdivision, Coolidge, Arizona, changing the zoning from planned area development to agricultural, legally described as follows. Lot 24 of KLC Ranch lots 9 through 24, as recorded in Cabinet C, slide 175, in the office of the County Recorder, Pinal County, Arizona.
All right, I'll start this one, Vice Chair Halmy, because this is my mistake. As noted in the staff report itself, the applicants are John and Joanna Thompson, and it's 1037 East Lauren Lane and Lot 20 of KLC Ranch. The agenda is, with the exception of the case number on this item, just got carried over from last month. But the mailings, the publication, and everything else except this agenda was properly notified, and I believe we can move forward if you choose to do so.
Yeah, all the notices are correct, so.
Yes, I'm sure we can move forward. I think that is just a small glitch on the agenda only, not to the notification. So
It is completely my fault.
let's move forward with that.
40 lashes. Wet noodle.
Won't be the first time.
Won't be the last either.
Probably not. As stated previously, everything on the other case applies to this one, next one.
Perfect.
We won't reiterate that.
Ladies, gentlemen, any discussion?
Nope.
None needed? All right, at this time, we'll open it to the public. No public, so we'll close it to the public, and I'll entertain a motion.
Vice Chair, I move Cool PZ 191038. The zoning request be approved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, and the last item. Well, I won't say the last item. Item G, Cool PZ 19-10-39, a rezoning request initiated by Mark and Terry Gomes for approximately 1.38 acres of land located at 1128 East Lauren Lane in KLC Ranch Subdivision, Coolidge, Arizona, changing the zoning from planned area development to agricultural, legally described as follows. Lot 16 of KLC Ranch, lots 9 through 24, as recorded in Cabinet C, slide 175, in the office of the County Recorder, Pinal County, Arizona.
Chair, Commissioners, the same as the two previous ones, so we would ask your support and recommend approval on this item.
Thank you. Any discussion on this one?
Nope.
Okay, we'll open it to the public. No public, so we'll close it to the public. And I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to approve Cool PZ 19-10-39 as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need a second.
Oh, I didn't get a second.
I'll second.
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Now we'll go back to the front to begin.
Go back to A, if you would like.
Item
That's
A.
what you would like.
Cool PZ 19-09-31, a proposed amendment to the zoning code changing the submittal requirements for a conditional use permit. Section 1902B is amended to read as follows. B, application required. The person applying for the conditional use permit shall fill out and submit to the zoning administrator the appropriate form together with the required fee.
I'm sorry, Vice Chair, how, you don't need to read
I don't need to read all that?
that.
Okay.
If I may, I'll just kind of go over this real quick for the benefit of anybody watching or reviewing this. What this section says now is when you submit a conditional use permit and you follow the major site plan requirements shown on the left on the screen. So you submit a drawing with all that stuff on it. And then you come back and do a major site plan with all that again. So it seems redundant, especially with some uses, say a solar farm, a medical marijuana cultivation facility, some of these big things on a vacant site. You're evaluating whether this area is appropriate for that use. But they are hardly going to go through the time and engineering expense to develop a site plan for something that may not get approved. So we have added the text in here that changes some of that. Now there are some conditionally permitted uses where we want some more information. Let's say an existing building that wants to be a church or an auto repair tire center, some of these conditionally permitted use on existing building. The things listed in the proposed requirement are 2A. We need to see these on the site plan to determine whether that site can meet the requirements for that use. If it's an undeveloped site where they're going to have to come back and do a major site plan anyway, we just kind of need to know where it is, what's around it, and have a legal description. And so that's what's really driving this code, kind of on the same line as the other amendments that you guys have proposed and approved over the last couple of years, streamlining and simplifying the process and using common sense. And that's all I really have for that.
Just want to add, Tim's done a great job of looking at some of these and streamlining them to just what we need to make it easier. And we're, as City Manager Rick Miller says, we try to be facilitators, not regulators so much, but try to be business friendly. So we think this does that.
Looks fine to me.
I think part of our job is to take that convolutedness and kind of part the seas and make it easy for business to come to town.
Agreed.
All right. Do we have any discussion?
Nope.
Nope.
None needed? Okay. At this time, we'll open it to the public. No public. We'll close it to the public, and we'll entertain a motion.
Vice Chairman Halby, I move that Cool PZ 190931 be approved as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, next item, letter B. Cool PZ 19-09-32. Another proposed amendment to the zoning code removing final plat from the preliminary development submittal requirements of a PAD, planned area development.
That's enough.
What's that?
You don't have to read the rest.
Okay.
Director Lopez, if I may, and Commissioner Halby, or Vice Chair Halby and Commissioners, I don't know how this ever even got in there, to be honest with you. A planned area development, you guys have seen these before. It's a master plan for a big area saying we have multifamily here and we have single family here. This is a school site. These are our parks. This is what our streetscape's going to look like and kind of the housing products we're going to do. And once that's approved, they move on to engineering the subdivision and going through the final plat process as dictated by the subdivision regulations. I've never seen a final plat with a PAD. So I don't, this has been in there forever. It was in the code we copied it from too. It just needs to come out. It's
Yeah, we don't apply it.
Why don't
kind of
we-
not been applying it, but we should really just fix the code is the right thing to do.
Why are we not applying it? Why don't we want a final plat of the proposed development at the time we're doing this planned area development?
Because we would like to have people build and develop in our community.
And if they're told they have to give us a final plat of the proposed before we give them approval, they won't do it?
Well, the cost would be
Highly unlikely. Your plat, when they do the final plat, there's a fair amount of engineering that goes into that, along with all your drainage calculations, your roadway designs, grading, I mean, all this stuff. The planned area development that gets reviewed by this commission and ultimately approved by city council lays out in that document what the lot sizes in the PAD will be. They will have X amount of 48 by 50, 150s and 52s by and it gives a ratio of each of these lot sizes and even some areas where they're going to go. So you kind of know what you're getting as far as lot sizes and product variations and residential densities because the PAD will have an overall density for it. Your multifamily portions may be 8 dwelling units per acre, whereas your single family are 4 dwelling units per acre. But the overall PAD is 4.5. So this is all outlined, and the design guidelines for that subdivision are established. The general aesthetics, we're going to have tile roofs in the subdivision, not asphalt ones. Our block walls are going to look like this. Our entry monuments are going to look like this. Their street sections, the width, and whether the sidewalk is attached, detached, their parks, and the features their parks are going to have in them. These are all outlined in the PAD. The final plat is just the hard layout and the creation of those individual parcels. At the time of the PAD, it's probably just one big or possibly 2 or 3 big pieces of land.
And that all happens in the site approval anyway.
Once the PAD is approved, they can move forward with some of their more final engineering, the platting, to create the individual lots and parcels of the subdivision that will ultimately be built on, which is governed by the PAD document. They can't propose 48-foot wide and 52-foot wide and 60-foot wide lots and come back with a final plat that has 35-foot wide lots. They're not consistent with the approved planned area development, so it won't get approved. You guys would never even see it because it wouldn't get this far. So the PAD lays out all the standards and a path forward that the plat must adhere to, including percentages of open space and things like that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Convoluted.
Nope, I got it.
I'm in favor of less government.
Are you talking about the overthrow of the city?
No, this just seems like one more step that has to be, or box that needs to be checked that really is redundant.
I don't think you will find this requirement for planned area development, zoning, and approval anywhere, except for maybe the one jurisdiction we copied this code from who may or may not have realized it's there yet.
If not, they'll find it, huh?
Maybe.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Gentlemen, ladies? No? All right. At this time, we'll open it to the public. No public, so we'll close it to the public and we'll entertain a motion.
Vice Chairman, I move Cool PZ 190932 be approved as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, letter C. Cool PZ 19-09-35. A proposed amendment to the zoning code adding hemp processing alphabetically to the list of definitions and to include hemp processing as a conditionally permitted use in the Ag Zone District, as a principally permitted use in the Garden Industrial Zoning District, and as a principally permitted use in the General Industrial Zoning District.
Chairman, Commissioners, this is as you know, hemp has been approved as a legal agricultural product in the state of Arizona. So this is we're getting, we see that there's going to be requests from agriculture, maybe some farmers changing from cotton or wheat or alfalfa into a hemp product that's legal. And so this is our effort to recognize that and create definitions for the industry and bring them into our zoning code, so we don't group them into specifically just general agriculture. So they're addressed in this area. So I know Tim's been working diligently on this, and as following some of our other standards, we've given it to you as conditional use in agriculture, like some of the other uses we have. And then the other one is I-1, which is a light industrial zoning district, and which that one can go either way. You can either do that as a principally permitted use, which is shown, or you could say you want to require a conditional use permit for that in I-1. The general industrial I-2 zoning district is a heavy industrial, so that pretty much principally permitted there should be no issue. That would be in line with what the city of Phoenix would do with something like a hemp processing. I looked at one up in the city of Phoenix. I wanted to see if I could smell anything, or it was, and it wasn't up and running yet. But they assured me that there was none, because Phoenix has requirements for other things when you go into industrial zones that produce any sort of odor. They require other standards that we don't have yet in ours, even though it would be controlled by ADW, I think the Arizona Department of, and also air quality control for any manufacturing, because they get involved in any of that. Just to give you a case in point, like with Nikola, they're going to be manufacturing hydrogen electric semi-trucks, so they have to apply for a manufacturing permit for air quality. So they submit it to Pinal County. Pinal County goes through that process and grants them a permit. So in some businesses, some types, they may have to have a scrubber, in other cases not. So anyway, let's just give you an example of the process. So what we're recommending now is of course conditional use in agriculture, because that's how we do the data centers. We do solar that way, things that aren't straight out agriculture. And then we're also giving the option permitted use in garden industrial I-1, and also principally permitted in general industrial I-2. I said garden industrial I-1 could be either conditional or principally permitted, depending on your preference. And the only issue that we have right now, and it's really not really an issue,
There's not really a place.
where the only
Available.
I-1 we have, and I'll be honest with you, the only I-1 we have is next to Kenilworth, the park. And so that's the Tim, correct if I'm wrong, but I think that's the only place we have I-1 at this point.
There's two places.
Oh, there's another one. It's really
Director
small.
Lopez and,
Right?
and Vice Chair Halby, commissioners. See if we can get zoomed in a little bit here. So all the green on the map is ag. That light purple is I-2, which we're principal in I-2. The only reason we went conditional in I-1, elaborating on what Director Lopez said, are in ag. We don't want someone coming in and principally permitted in ag, and they have their acre and a quarter or 2.5 acre ag lot amidst a bunch of custom homes, and they want to start a hemp processing operation. If it was principally permitted, we couldn't stop them. So it's conditionally permitted so that commission can review whether the proposed location is appropriate. We're not going to do it out on Thunder Mountain Trail or these places where they're building the semi-custom homes. The two places we have I-1 in town right now is where the old DBK building is, right next to Kenilworth Sports Complex. And this little sliver of land at the northeast corner of 9th Street and Martin Road are the only two places in town where I-1 currently exists. We had a lot of discussion internally between myself and Director Lopez and the city manager about whether to do conditionally in I-1 or principally in I-1. I don't know. There's a lot of opinions there either way. It's presented to you as principal. The commission has the option to do it either way they want. Ultimately, we feel the uses listed in I-1 and hemp processing is similar to them, so it's appropriate in that zoning district. It's just a matter of whether the commission feels if they want to review conditional use permit for where it is in I-1 or not. So it's really up to you guys. We strongly recommend conditional in ag and principal in I-2.
Yeah, the only thing it would do in I-1, if you use the conditional use permit, would allow you to have a public hearing on it. So they would have to apply for that, and then so if they were going to do it in I-1, which would be that piece right there by Kenilworth Park, then you could be assured that they would control any odors or anything like that. Because
But again, that's right across the street from housing.
Yeah, and if you remember, I think in the past, we turned down and it's not the same thing from what I'm told. The hemp manufacturing is not the same thing as medical marijuana manufacturing. But I've heard that the odor created is the same. So I don't know if that's true or not.
It is my belief that those processing procedures are identical.
Okay.
They are real similar. When they're processing the hemp for CBD and more medicinal purposes, it tends to be more pungent than the stuff they use for more textile-based applications, which is not without smell either.
And I guess that's where we have to think about this, right? Because I used to live in Seattle, and south of Seattle is this little town called Tacoma. Tacoma has the moniker of being the paper mill factory of the country. They have also another moniker, the aroma of Tacoma, because it smells to high heaven.
Yeah.
Paper mills smell.
Yeah. That's
I can tell you that this product will smell.
Yeah, and I think that's where I saw in the city of Phoenix's, because we call the city of Phoenix because they have a hemp processing. It's strictly in heavy industrial, and it's surrounded by all warehouses, and there's nothing around it. I drove up there, but it wasn't far enough along. I wanted to go see if I could smell anything, but it wasn't in production yet. So it was.
And what are they processing? Are they processing the oil? Are they processing the fiber? Are they making hempcrete? You know,
we don't know.
what is processing? That's
was
very general in terms.
Yeah, because it was a research facility that was creating, and they were actually processing for research for some large manufactured companies and medical companies, but it was hemp. And so Phoenix gave me the section they listed it under, which is I-2, and then they had the section that said, any odors emanating from any industrial use will be controlled by a separate section. So they probably required scrubbers and everything, and I'll tell you where it was. Where the on Washington Street, where the old Stockyards restaurant is, all that area, and right next door is the big giant postal service place, and then right behind it is the light rail yard.
And right across the street's Honey Bears?
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, it's right there. So it's a really modern looking building. It's huge. It just isn't underway yet. So I I saw where it was, and I looked, and there's not a residence anywhere around it.
So they'd be producing the oil for medicinal purposes.
Probably,
right?
yeah. So our concern, of course, just to give you all the facts so you could say, yeah, if the I-1 wasn't anywhere near anything like the ball field, we'd probably say, well, it's out in the middle of heavy industrial and it's not going to be an
Right,
issue.
like I could
Yeah.
very well see hemp being used as hempcrete
Right.
with AZ Block right around the corner.
Yeah. Vice Chair Halby, there is a ton of things that could be processed as exhibited here. This was kind of a cool exhibit, 50,000 different uses from fuels to clothing to.
Right, and that's my concern when we say processing and we try to limit processing. What does that encompass?
So we have, Vice Chair Halby and Commissioners, intentionally defined hemp processing broadly as the processing of wet and dried hemp material needed to prepare hemp for industrial, food, or medical use.
Now it says nothing about fuels.
Industrial. I would argue that would fall under industrial.
I guess.
That's how
I
we
mean,
would interpret it. Yeah.
So we've kind of kept it broad and applied to it all, and really the basis of the internal discussion on whether to principally or conditionally permit it in I-1 is based on the location of the only two I-1 parcels we have in town, one being across from the Little League fields and the other being on the corner in a residential neighborhood. So I-1 itself may be a good place to have it, but the I-1s we have may not be the best places to locate it, and so there was discussion on whether that should be conditionally permitted or not. It is presented as principally permitted to the commission, and it is at the commission's preference what recommendation they put forward to council, if any.
Didn't we prior have someone approach us to have the ball, across from the ball field, some other kind of a hemp or cannabis processing plant, and that was turned down by this committee?
Commissioner Bolin, that is correct. It was applied to be a medical marijuana cultivation facility. And there was some opposition at the public hearing, and I believe the commission unanimously voted against that, given the location and just what goes on next door. And I mean, it's really a perception thing. This is all legal, but it's new legal, so these perceptions are changing. It's going to take time, and you know, maybe the best way to make people comfortable with it and move forward and help the industry is not to build them next to Little League fields.
Absolutely.
Where are I-2s located? They were in the blue sections on our maps?
But there isn't much I-2 left.
We have
Yeah.
a ton of IT.
Yeah, we have our heavy.
There's more I-2 than anything else.
How you doing? Yeah, we have I-2 and
The only thing there's, or ag is probably our biggest.
yeah, I-2, the industrial park is I-2, I believe, where we have Bright and some of the others.
But there's only one parcel there, right?
There is, Vice Chair Halby, there is about 4 parcels in there that are undeveloped.
Right.
And then a
Well,
couple
only
that are
one
partially
available.
developed. There's one medical marijuana cultivation facility there. You can see right here is our industrial park that's I-2. In addition to that, all these little purple areas down through here,
Right.
including Nicola and the whole inland port area, thousands and thousands of acres of land.
But not
And
available
the
land.
airport itself, it is all,
Not available land. And
It is
remember,
my
some of these
understanding that-
farmers have a crop in the ground.
this land is all for sale.
But again, remember, some of these farmers have a crop in the ground.
In that area,
and they're
those
gonna need a
farmers are
place to
leasing.
process.
Those farmers are leasing that ground, and upon sale, those leases go away. So we're not talking about growing hemp. They don't need anything from the city to do that.
No, processing.
But the
they
processing.
need a place, and that's the other thing is, if we limit them to a parcel, there's a large, substantial investment that has to be made on somebody's behalf to create this.
Agreed. But there is ample opportunity, principally, again, in all the purple, conditionally in all this green. So maybe these guys co-locate next to a solar farm.
Yeah.
Maybe our people from last meeting, where are we at? Right here.
Right.
Maybe they do it there. I mean, there's lots of places that it can go. Agricultural needs to come before the commission so you don't get some yahoo with acre quarter decide he's going to process hemp in a custom subdivision, like KLC Ranch, which is turning ag.
Right.
Right, so that needs to come back before. I-2, it's totally appropriate. It's in line with the principally permitted uses out there. Garden industrial, you guys need to make a decision on that and provide a recommendation. And we will bring that forward, whatever you decide.
Because of the limited amount of I-1 that we have available in Coolidge and the location of where it is now, I think that needs to be conditionally permitted rather than principally permitted, just because of the locations and how little of it we have.
I was actually moving toward restricting it from I-1 because of how little we have.
Vice Chair Halby and Commissioners, I would recommend not completely restricting it from I-1, and here is why. Conditionally would give you the option to say no.
Sure.
If it's not appropriate, which, you know, at least one of our current locations could be seen that way. But just because we only have 2 parcels zoned I-1 doesn't mean more cannot be created in the future. Through our general plan, all these areas in purple, a lot of them which are already zoned industrial, allow I-1 zoning. So we could see more I-1 in the future. So to just not allow it there, I think would limit the industry's options, and we'd like to keep the most options out there for them. But with a conditional use permit, you folks could thumbs up or thumbs down and decide whether it's appropriate where they're putting it.
But Tim, last meeting, we looked at some I-1 examples, right, that were presented to us of shopping plazas and malls and that type of stuff. Is this honestly where you would want to put a hemp manufacturing place?
You can have I-1 as, you know, where say there's a buffer between, say you're going from heavy business into an industrial area. It's like, say, next to a railroad track, and maybe it's not as heavy as I-2 because on the other side you may have some housing. So there could be a situation where I-1 is a good use of the land. I know some up in the valley that are like that. And the thing too is you got to remember, hemp is a legal product, and you're going to probably see a lot more activity under that. So we felt the condition, after all the discussions we had internally, that the conditional use permit will serve both a tool to say this is the right place. It allows the public to comment if it's something they're concerned with, and you still have the flexibility of approving something if it doesn't bother anybody and you can't smell it or it doesn't have any impact, of still allowing it and being friendly to the business.
Right.
If we see a lot of so we thought it was a good compromise to add the one, if you so choose, is to add the conditional use to the I-1. That way you'd have the flexibility one way or the other. I-2 heavy industrial, we think it's perfectly fine. Agricultural, with data centers, solar, you see gins that are, but those are all grandfathered in, but
Sure.
they generally should be in heavy industrial. But they've been
But
around
they
so
were
long.
also conditionally permitted.
Some were so long that before the zoning actually even existed, because gins have been around forever.
Right.
But they're a heavy use. I mean, they produce a lot of dust and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I mean, yeah.
I-
So that's how we, with us, after a lot of discussion, we came up with kind of that option for you. So.
Vice Chair Halby and Commissioners, I should also point out, in addition to the purple on this map, business and commerce, this orangey red area allows for I-1 zoning as well. The yellow does not allow any I zonings or ag zonings beyond what already exists. And then the only other one we have is the brown and the green don't allow for any industrial. They do allow agricultural. And the downtown core doesn't allow any of those things we mentioned. But if you guys feel that it's not appropriate in I-1, it is your pleasure to strike it from your motion and not move that piece of it forward if you would like to continue the other two. You tell us what you would like to do and pass a motion, and we will support that and move it on to council, however you choose.
I guess my position is really in the processing part of it. Okay, if I had a storefront, a natural storefront that I sold natural foods and I did some CBD capsules in the back, right, that I'm putting out in my store, I would be considered processing. That would be appropriate for an I-1 type environment. But now if I'm taking bales and I'm processing bales out of the back and I'm right next to Starbucks, that's probably not an appropriate use.
Vice Chair Halby, I agree, and through conditionally permitting that in I-1, you folks would be able to make that determination of your capsules are good, these bales are not appropriate here. We have other places you can do that. So
Okay.
it would still leave the ball in your court without disallowing it entirely.
So to me, just the word processing sounded very general in terms.
It
But
is
as long as
very
we can-
general.
As long as we can differentiate, where we want this processing to happen, I'm okay with
The
it.
processing is going to be very general. Let's take an example in I-1 where they're coming for a conditional use permit. They're going to need to give you guys some details of what they're doing. You're not just going to, you're going to grant a conditional use permit for hemp processing, and you are going to condition that this is the kind of processing we're allowing. Some oil extraction, things akin to kind of a research lab or stuff like that. We are not going to allow the raw processing of these bales and
Right.
shredders and things to do all of that.
But you just hit on something like a laboratory, right? If I want to set up a laboratory where I'm doing the testing for all these farm sites around to make sure they're within their federal requirement, would that testing lab be considered processing as well? And I-1 would be very appropriate for that type of business.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
part of the conditional
exactly.
use, you could also require that, you could look at the odors or whether it needs scrubbers or not, and like the city of Phoenix does, where they require that in your investigation into whether it's appropriate or not, those questions would be answered. What's produced by the air quality of that, and what do we need? So
We'll never be as bad as Phoenix.
no, we're not as big as that.
I'm
For sure.
confident of that.
Huh?
I'm confident of that.
Okay. Just wanted to make that point very clear.
Oh yeah.
Vice Chair and Helmy, I'd still in section 701C, I'd like that to read conditional permitted uses. So that we'd have only in section 702C for I-2 where it would be principally permitted, if that change could be made.
Vice Chair Halby, you can absolutely take Commissioner Boland's suggestion and turn it into a motion after
Second.
opening and hearing the public hearing portion.
Absolutely.
But that is absolutely doable.
Any other discussion?
I'm good.
No? All right. At this time, we'll open it to the public. Rick, you want to stand up? Thanks for joining us.
These guys are working very hard to do some really good things.
They're phenomenal, really are. At this time, we'll close it to the public, and we'll entertain a motion.
Commissioner, Vice Chairman Halby, I'd like to propose Coolidge PZ 1909-35 be approved with the change that section 701C, item C, principally permitted uses be changed to conditionally permitted uses in the I-1 garden industrial zoning area.
Perfect.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right. And that's it. We did this. We got one more?
For your request, item H.
H. Oh,
It is.
I didn't see that. Item H. An exhibit showing where solar farms have been approved within the city. Per Vice Chair's Halby request at the last Planning and Zoning Commission. Please.
Vice Chair Halby, we prepared this on your request so you guys can illustrate. It's a good request. We've done a lot of these things and we see them piece by piece, but you know, sometimes
It's hard to see the whole puzzle when you get
not
it
everyone
piece
sees
by
the big
piece.
picture except for the map guy behind his computer. So, good request. This is only a discussion item, no public hearing, no action. We can just talk. So, that 16% where it says city limits, the authorized area of the city limits, 16% of it is authorized for solar farms.
Okay. And how much of it have we used?
Vice Chair Halby, I don't know the percentage on that, but Sullivan Solar and Eastline Solar is the S-Power. You guys heard last month,
Right.
the first group. And then the 1,174 acres for the Saint Solar is the other one, minus this piece. This piece is authorized, but they are not utilizing it.
Okay.
So this is they're to the permit stage. Site plans are approved, and this as well. None of the rest of this area, there's no power purchase agreements, there's no users. It's speculative in nature. But it is authorized. So if we got 7,800 acres and we're taking 1,800 off of that, we still have got about 6,000 acres ready to go for site plan for solar.
Right.
We are going to have a CUP before you next month for solar. It's this little piece right here. As part of this project, they've acquired some of that property. And then we have been talking to another applicant who desires to process some other ones. I'm not sure on the
And
area
they do
yet.
have the purchase power agreement?
They do. That's Eastline Solar. They have that contract with SRP. Their site plan's approved.
Eastline or S-line?
Eastline.
It's Eastline operating under S-Power.
Okay.
S-Power is the parent company for Eastline Solar. Saint Solar is operating under NextEra as a parent company. I believe both their power purchase agreements are with SRP. Not 100% on NextEra. The rest of them are speculation.
Tim, I don't know if you mentioned earlier, but the Goldmans, I didn't meet them yet. The Goldmans and Saint Solar had their meeting this morning at 10. Tried to get there, couldn't, but it was really a meeting between the two of them to work out the arrangements that were going to be acceptable to the Goldmans. I'm still waiting to hear from the Goldmans. I understand kind of indirectly that everything worked out fine, but I want to make sure that that their needs were addressed.
And Director Miller, we touched on this briefly earlier on the new location of their laydown yard and construction trailer being about a half-mile south of the original location. So Commission was happy to see that cooperation and the follow-through
Yes, and
had
thank
occurred.
you for the follow-up on that, Rick.
And so we will get all the details on that beyond the construction trailer, what they decided with that vacant area and the landscaping and whatever else.
Awesome.
And we'll give you an update next meeting on all the details of that beyond what we know now.
So in the way of solar, you might have seen that S-Power, as community-minded as they said they were going to be,
Yes.
provided a $10,000 check to the city of Coolidge to help us with the lining of the water tank.
Nice.
So that was
Yep.
very generous offer by
Very nice.
showing their community engagement already, even before the property was in the,
Have you thought about what lights to put up there, Rick?
yeah, they're all LED.
Um,
Should be
I was going to say, can we contact our friends at Ursa Lighting?
We've got the contractor for the water tower that's not on the agenda, just to kind of give you an update. Contractor for the water
Can we move this under reports from the director and stuff so we can stay out of trouble?
All right.
We can finish the solar discussion and move right on to this as soon as you guys are ready.
Yep. So I was actually going to say thank you for providing that for us.
You're welcome. You guys got any questions on this? You guys ever need any more info? I am mostly available.
This is
You may not
exactly
catch
what
me
I
by
wanted to see.
phone or anything immediately, but I'll get back to you.
Yeah, this is very useful.
It is. It is. It helps us see the big picture.
So if you guys don't have any
Thank
more
you.
questions on that, I mean, we can
Okay.
move on to
We'll move on to the reports.
reports. Come grab a mic.
Mr. Chair, we'll the city manager, please come up and.
He called me director, but yeah.
He did. I called you city manager.
I know. He's over director.
You went back to the old days.
You know, the water, just a brief update on the water tank. You've seen the changes on the water tank. They really made a beautiful,
See them painting it the
the
other day.
paint is just gorgeous. It's the same color as the town of Gilbert. They painted the 1929 font letters, Coolidge, on the side of the tank, if you've not seen that already. It's just awesome. And now the contractor that's doing the painting for the water company is also installing the LED lighting on the tower. There'll be some lights, probably 14 to 16 lights on the catwalk that illuminate the walls of the tank. And there's a series of lights that are shining up at the bowl of the tank underneath. And then they'll have lights running up all four legs and up the middle of the fill pipe.
Oh, wow.
And so these are all LED lights and programmable. You can change them. The colors can change. Like the fill pipe, if you want to come down, the pipes are going to be, the lights come straight down in like a rope lighting. And you can actually program, different colors. They could be red and white going up. Like, or
Like a candy cane
like
or-
a red, white, and blue, for 4th of July. Or if we want to do purple for Domestic Violence Month, or pink for Breast Cancer Awareness, or any of these colors, we can program them for the different events and festivities in Coolidge. Blue and red for the.
Who's
Awesome.
going to have control of the lighting? Is the city going to?
The city will have this. The lights will be owned by the city. The tank is obviously an active water tank. The water company still uses that tank. It's
Right.
built in 1929, and a rare example of one of those tanks still in operation. And I was up on one of the lifts the other day. Went up to the top of the tank, looked at the top of the roof of the tank. That was quite a ride. But it was amazing. Just a beautiful job that's being done. And the total cost of this project came in at for the lighting only, just the lighting. The painting was way more, but the lighting was $67,775.25. The city's committing $25,000, 20 of which is coming from the sale of the property that the council just approved the other night. I've been talking to the mayor about that, and that sale of that property was from an owner that donated the property to the city. About 3 years ago. Paid nothing. We paid nothing for the property, and all of a sudden, S Power needs this property because it runs right through the middle of their solar place. And then the other $5,000 we have are beautification funds. So $25,000 from the city, and I think we've received about 31,000 or so in donations at this point. 10,000 from S Power. They were happy to do that, and then we had several other donations. Hanson Engineering gave 3,000, and APS. We haven't got a commitment totally from them, but I believe they're shooting for 5, SRP 5,000. So the donations are coming in. I'm still hoping that we can. I think we're about 11,000 shy of what we'd like to be to meet the goal, and I believe we're going to get close that gap pretty quick. But we believe that the lighting will all be completed by prior to the electric light parade, and we'll use that as the ceremony to kick off the parade that night. It'll be really awesome.
Oh, wow.
The problem is you can't see it from the park,
Which park?
San Carlos Park. you can't see the water tower.
Well, I was just in San Carlos Park being interviewed last week, and the park, that tower is right behind me. You can see it perfectly.
You must have been in the right spot.
There's a lot of, yeah, if a tree's in the way.
I walk through that park every morning. I walk through that park.
Well, there's a lot of
and I
trees.
can't see it.
Yeah, you got to get around the trees, and you'll see it.
Oh, okay, see?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no trees in the park, you'd see it perfectly, but the trees are nice too, so. It'll be
I
nice.
want to cut trees down.
No, and I think the parade will probably start, it'll, right there at the corner, I believe it's right there at Main and, is it Main and Central, thereabouts?
I think they'll start it right there.
If you'd started
They
up
line
there
up
right
in front of
beside
City
the
Hall.
building, it would be perfect.
Now we just use that as our kickoff.
Use that as a kickoff.
Mhm.
You got that big empty lot right there.
We also, if you look, in fact, I was just in my daughter's neighborhood a few minutes ago. They've replaced the high-pressure sodium street lights in front of her house and in this area they're calling Zone 6 right now, which is basically everything west of Arizona Boulevard, south of, I believe, Vaki, down to Coolidge Avenue, I think. But they're replacing all of those lights in that first zone. They're doing 25 per day, so they should be up to about 75 streetlights that have already been replaced with LED. And this is a company that the city council hired or contracted with, PLG, and they're replacing all of those lights. And the electrical savings on those streetlight replacements will pay for these streetlights in probably about 7 years total. These lights have a life of 15 to 20 years. And the cost, the energy costs are like a third or less of what the high pressure sodium. So after they're paid for, 7-year return on investment, we're going to have probably another 7, 8, 9 years of extremely low utility bills compared to what we've been paying for those. And they're true light. I mean, when you see them, if you look at them, they look brighter looking at it, but underneath the color is a true color. It's not distorted or yellow looking like the old high pressure sodium. So you'll see those lights changing throughout the whole community. Not everywhere. Some subdivisions, Heartland Ranch is not under APS. Parts of Heartland. Carter Ranch, I think, is not under, it's under Hohokam. Martin Valley. So these are only the APS streetlights that are being changed out. We're going to be working with Hohokam and ED2 and San Carlos Irrigation, Skip, to try to change out the other ones if we can, but that won't be done right now.
How about getting them to do the park?
Getting what?
Getting the
Lights in the park.
lights in the city park at San Carlos.
Those are APS.
Those are APS lights.
I believe they are, but I think right now our focus is on all the street lighting. Yeah, we
The
have.
park is so dark.
Yeah.
It is. You go there at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
and I'm going to tell you, it's dark.
So are you saying we need more light poles in there?
No, we
Just
need the lights fixed.
Better lights.
Better lighting.
Nobody's fixed them because we were going to change them out. And now we've got over half of the lights is burned out.
Well, it's very possible that we can. Well, it's very possible we can go in there and add those to this list
yeah, I mean,
for a little
take
bit more.
Half a day. and
Sure, it doesn't take
they'd
much.
be done.
Doesn't take much. We could do that if they're compatible with the poles that are in there.
They are.
Because these fixtures, the bulbs that we're using are, if you look at them, they're very flat
Yeah.
compared to the high pressure sodium. They're very round. They're rounded.
Okay.
That's good. Good. The more light in there, the better. I agree. We might even need a few more light poles in there too, in places. No.
When all the lights are working, you've got more than enough light.
Okay. Good.
But right now, over half of them are burned.
Just burned out.
completely out.
Well, it was really amazing to me. We had PD and others do an inventory of the street lights around town. There were many street lights that were burned out and not
Oh, yeah.
working. Many, many, many. Several in the areas that are not APS maintained down in the south of the canal. I believe those are Skip.
Yeah.
So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Sure, I've got a few little things real quick, just things of interest. Casablanca, our 398-unit apartment complex, is moving forward. We just got the civils yesterday, so they're under review right now. Tim's got those, and so does engineering, I believe. So we're moving forward. We're waiting for the building plans to come in. And so that's moving forward.
That's the one on Buckeye Inn, right?
That's the big one, yes. And then Coolidge Place Senior Apartments, the 36 units. The permits have been pulled on that, so we expect them to start any day and move in earth and dirt. They've worked out their power issue with APS, and they're going to come in from Cross Creek into Couch Crossing, actually. I've been working on Cross Creek. But anyway, for Couch Crossing into the 36 unit apartments, so they'll be able to get APS power on those. Recovered Arizona water, the street lights. Just real quick, some of you may have heard the chamber dinner, the annual dinner went really well. We were very happy. The chamber and the county recognized the mayor, city manager Rick Miller, and myself for our work. And this is the whole team in the city, including yourselves, for the work that everybody's doing to bring economic development to the city. It was a great recognition. We were very happy to be there and accept it. Rick was really ill that night, so he couldn't be there. But he had enough breath to tell me that Hanson Engineering donated $3,000 for the streetlights. And I'm going, Rick, you sound like the Godfather, you know, like voice. Anyway, so that happened, and then what else? The mayor's breakfast is tomorrow morning, and he's going to cover all the things that happened since his last breakfast. And I just wanted to share with you, you know, we try to be the best that we can be. I've been going to classes for economic development, so I got my Arizona Economic Development Professional Certificate recently at an economic development event. So that means I took a bunch of classes to make me better and,
All right,
do
well
the best
done.
we can for economic development. So just wanted to share that with you. So that's
Well
all I
done.
have.
Congratulations.
Domino's is open.
Yes, Domino's finally open.
I saw it past a delivery truck on my way here,
Right?
and we expect our Greek restaurant to open any day now.
I thought they opened this morning.
Unless they did a soft opening and we didn't know about it. Maybe
If
they're
they
just
open
working.
this morning, then I am upset about what I ate for lunch.
They did not open this morning.
Really?
I can give you an update on that. They have a couple little things they have to do to complete the fire system over their hoods and grills.
Oh, the Ansel system?
It is no longer, the one is out of date and it needs a little bit of upgrading, and they're working on doing that. But that is the case of what's holding up the opening is he's trying to make sure that everything is perfectly working the way it's designed.
It's looking really nice.
Thank you.
Have highly anticipated.
We are super excited about that. I know my wife and pretty much anybody I've talked to, they can't wait.
Chamber held a ribbon cutting for Fred's Cigars across from Pizza Hut today. And I don't know if you've been over there to look at it. And then there was there's another ribbon cutting coming up for
In
somebody
those
else.
executive suites?
Yeah, in the executive suites, yeah.
There's another one coming up.
I got a question. What is the big roll-up door in the back with all the tire changing and all kinds of equipment, and there's people by the dozens
It's an
come out?
exercise. It's a gym.
No, it's not.
I don't know, Commissioner Metcalf.
It is
I
a
have
gym.
not processed a business license for
Well,
that.
that's what I was asking.
It's a
Which
gym.
building are you talking about?
Back there, but I don't know what it is.
Which building are they talking about?
It's that bent bar gym that used to be
It's the executive suites across from Pizza Hut has.
where the
roll-up
motorcycle
door
shop
on
was.
the-
They
on
moved
Central?
back there in that back.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything on that. I haven't seen that. I've not noticed a lot of people in and out.
Yeah, boy, I saw about 15 or 20 guys walk out of there yesterday morning. And I thought, what's going on back there?
We'll have to look into that. I have not processed a business license or signed permits or anything for that particular location.
Well, they've been operating there for the last 3 months that I'm aware of. I walk in the mornings a little earlier than he does.
Don't know. Have to look into it and
We'll
see.
have someone visit with them. Thank you.
What do you see and what do you see happening there?
It's a gym.
It's a gym, I guess.
It's a gym. They're working out there every morning. They start about 5
Oh,
o'clock.
is that the same group that used to be in where the old Jugs and Strokers?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I knew that they moved out of there and that's
The
now
bent bar.
Hoffman's. Okay, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. Have to look and see. We'll check into that. Is there a sign outside on their major sign?
I don't think so. I don't see nothing.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
I might have seen something on the building.
Okay. How's that zoned?
You know, we've permitted
We'll look
everything in
into
that
that,
building,
Commissioner
you know, the
Metcalf.
church, everything else has been permitted through the county, through the commission, but that hasn't.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's another ribbon cutting on the 13th of November for Walmart at the grand opening of their online shopping. You can go online, shop here, and then go pick it up there. They'll bring it out to your car, I guess. They're doing that at our Walmart now. Went into Safeway this evening. I was amazed at the improvements that they're making inside the Safeway store, the Starbucks area, and just very, very looks nice. So a lot of good improvements happening around town.
We're working with some home builders on some other lots. We just can't say anything yet, so we hope everything goes well. It's a lot exciting, as Rick Miller, as city manager said. There's really a lot of things going on. It's really exciting. So,
Somebody made a statement the other day that they was driving through one of the new areas where homes are being built, and here was a pad, and it didn't even have the forms set on it yet, and a sign out front said sold.
I know, it's amazing.
I says, whoa, they're getting to that point already.
Yeah.
well, and we want to say, we're moving forward. We will meet again in December. Thanksgiving's coming up, so we want to wish you all a very happy, prosperous, and joyful Thanksgiving to you and your families, and do the same. Please call us if you have any questions. As Tim said, we're available for you, and that's all I have.
Vice Chair Halby, as ridiculous as it is to keep having calls to the public with no public in the audience, we got one more before we can have a motion to adjourn.
All right. We will make that last call to the public. No public. We'll close it down to the public.
Vice
And-
Chairman Halby, I move we adjourn this meeting.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Amen.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you all.